Andy, for a bald man with a big nose, you're a pretty hot guy.
That's
And, and
thanks.
I did that as you were drinking mid-drink, and you almost spit it out. So that would have been great for the pod, But so for anybody watching, Andy's got a shirt on today. I'm hot for democracy. Andy,
Yeah,
explain yourself. This
yeah,
is this is
yeah.
great.
So this is a shirt. Actually, this was a shirt purchased from the American Sunlight Project. From the American Sunlight Project, they are trying to basically shine a light on some of the bullshit, misinformation, disinformation in our environment. Their
There's
founder,
none of that. That's all fake.
it's all fake. It's all fake. Their founder was involved in the terribly named, and I'm not saying the name right as I try to remember it right now, but the DHS, something like Misinformation Governance Board or something along those lines. They had a very draconian type name that was very ominous, poorly named, and she's acknowledged as much, but she was demonized by many a uh, newcomer to voting for the Epstein files. Let's say that many of the Republicans have just recently come around. She was sitting in front of subcommittees, Jim Jordan and all of his righteous indignation, and others that wanted to suggest that there was, government, coercion and covering up information and suppression of information. All the bullshit being done exactly right now by many in government. And so she started the American Sunlight Project, a team there, and they just help remind us all that there's a lot of bullshit in our environment. And they're doing a lot of good work reporting, routine reporting, more thorough reporting to try and just keep truth in our environment. So I was glad to wear this shirt. I've worn it to a couple of protest events because I think it's really important to celebrate democracy. And Dave, I am hot. If you are pro democracy, if you are for the republic, like that's sexy to me. I'm hot. I'm hot for it. So I'm always glad to wear this shirt. I'm glad that I could talk about it today. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk about it on today's podcast.
It's good. Push out those pecs a little bit more. You can
Hold on,
see
let me just
ribbing of
see
your
my shirt. Let me
bicep.
just get it
Yeah.
good.
There we go. There we go. I like it. I like it. I like it. All right, Andy. All right. So speaking of democracy in action, yesterday we saw it, Andy. The House voted
Yeah.
to release the Epstein files. So we have democracy in action. This is Andy. Let's. So I want to talk two things. One, it didn't even need to get to this point, but
Uh,
it did.
yeah.
And two, Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, went in front of a podium and said, "This is why this is bad." And he listed out five different arguments, basically, which either party, the Democrats or the Republicans, could have made over the last 10 years,
Yeah.
but chose now to release those. So when the one party is out of power, the drumbeat is released the Epstein files. When the party is in power, it's no, this is bad for the victims.
Yeah.
This is bad for it's an investigation. We can't retry. We're doing all of these things.
Yeah.
But Andy, the people who are most impacted by this are the victims,
Yep.
who 27 of them have now come forward and have outed themselves, come out into the public and said, we want this out. And there's no like the people who have been abusers in this case and the people who were involved in this ring, it like 27 people have been victims at least at a minimum.
Yeah.
And you want us to believe that two people, Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, were the only ones involved in this.
Yeah.
There has to be some accountability somewhere, Andy, and even if it's not legal prosecution, the public should know that there is a pedophile ring that happened. People were abused, and those people are very powerful and should be held accountable,
Yeah.
one way or the other.
Yeah. Yes, on all of that, Dave. And that's what it's about. Ultimately, I mean, look, I've got to give credit to a few champions on this issue, and I know there are political motivations as well. But Thomas Massey, who's been a thorn in Donald Trump's side and won consistently against him, Ro Khanna, and I'm going to say it, Marjorie Taylor Greene, like they have not gotten their feet off the gas on this, right? And whatever other motivations they may have, They were advocating for the victims here and saying, just get this information out. Like, let's get it out. Like, give them the justice they deserve. Put the spotlight wherever it needs to shine. Republican, Democrat, if you're involved in the abuse of these young women, like, let's get it out there. And to their credit, they've been persistent, they've been unwavering, and it's done. I mean,
Yeah.
unanimously through the Senate yesterday, and the victims deserve that. Ultimately, like this, like fuck whatever politician and whatever party you're in. And if you're involved in trying to delay this, fight this, suppress this, withhold this, if the release is less than fully forthcoming, like screw you at this point, right? We like this is just about getting justice for the victims at this point. And fortunately, like the drumbeat of the democracy, like democracy lives, Dave. Like the drumbeat was so loud, so unwavering, right? As the victims and their champions were doing laps around the city, calling for the fall of the walls. Finally, the walls fell. Donald Trump acquiesced. The Republican Party caved in. One vote against on, I don't trust most votes coming out of the state of Louisiana, but maybe on reasonable grounds of concern, but it's still objectionable. And then surprisingly, just right through the Senate. So now we've got to see what's going to happen. But this was a win for the victims. It was a win for the champions that support it. And David, it's a win for America. Like, let's own our failures, move forward.
Yeah, and I mean, we are going to see what happens next as a result of this. But some people will say, "Well, I don't trust that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel didn't alter the files."
Yeah.
Here's the thing: like these files, it's it's not like they've been locked in a vault and only certain people have seen it. A lot of people know about these files. There have been Congress people have seen these files. The lawyers of the victims have seen these files. There have been people who have been interviewed as so again, what the Epstein files are for everyone is a compilation of investigative acts and witness statement. It's like the investigative case files and all the things that go along with it. The damage that people have argued that Mike Johnson was trying to argue for is, just because something was investigated doesn't mean it's complete and accurate. Like just because something said something in a witness statement and it was docked down doesn't mean it's true. There's a lot of things that need to go through it. But again, this is something that needed to get out. It didn't need to get to this point. And the fact now, and I mentioned this early, either late last week or on Monday, was this is now going to consume the next year of Donald Trump's presidency. And and then after that, it is expected the House or the Senate or both will return to at least not just full Republican control, some variation of Democratic control. And Trump is a lame duck. He can't do anything more. And those are unless he does continues through executive order, which can then be changed by Congress if they have the. So like this is the Trump presidency could effectively be over now, and he's going to have to deal with all of this. So, it didn't have to get there. Trump could have done what he said he was going to do in the beginning, but you know, as we've seen from these leaks, while there's no like direct connection to Trump's guilt here in any way, shape, or form. The fact that he, continued to push back against this, the fact that he calls it a hoax, the fact that he just didn't do what he said he was going to do, made him look worse than it was. And the birthday card. I'm sorry, Kash Patel, if you were so concerned that somebody forged the president's signatures years before he even became a presidential candidate, why aren't you looking for that person now? They're probably doing other Donald Trump signatures, but it's just bullshit, just complete bullshit. So
It is complete bullshit, and it's going to move forward, and the president's going to have to deal with some like. So one of the concerns people are saying about this is, okay, well, he'll sign it. He said he's going to sign it, and they're going to say, well, it's being held up because of investigation. But Donald Trump ordered the investigation, so
right, right.
that can't be an obstacle because he can say, I hereby I terminate the investigation. When Pam Bondi just terminate the investigation, release the files. Like this isn't like an investigation that's coming from somewhere else. Like this is so
Right.
that smokescreen. I don't think we're going to see that because it's such an obvious like non-issue. But we'll see how this plays out. And Dave, I'll be honest, when you said that the Donald Trump presidency is effectively over, I got a little stimulated by that. I felt some parts of my body get very excited as you said that. We can only hope so. We can only hope. Like this is such a crushing blow. This I mean, I don't know who's looking at Mike Johnson and think there's a man that we want in power in any way. He is such a sleazy, lying, manipulative piece of crap. And so, like seeing his leadership on this, right? I use that word leadership. Donald Trump has to deal with the consequences of this now. Like it is really going to be very difficult. I think you said it exactly right. Now there's going to be many that want to just move past it very quickly, but it's not going to be moved past very quickly. Like there's a lot to unravel in this, and it's just going to stay in the news and stay as a focus and be a distraction from all the other crazy shit that's happening, like us hosting the
Uh,
Crown
what do
Prince of Saudi Arabia in the White House yesterday and saying
you,
absolutely ridiculous things, absolutely ridiculous things. The arrogance of this president and the denial of this president is unbelievable. But this is going to be a consuming story. It's going to be bigger than anything else going on.
yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, this is again another thing in the effort. Like we hosted the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, who's been an outcast in the international community for years, ever since the death of the journalist and in Saudi Arabia.
The
And
maiming, Dave, the dismemberment of a journalist in Turkey,
just,
a foreign country. I mean, dismembered and moved out of the building in a suitcase.
yeah.
Fucking
It's
disgusting.
like, but this is the crazy shit that we have here, and I think it just let's we'll see. So, all right, Andy, let's go to another non-political topic. You forwarded me an article about MTV, Andy, from Rolling Stones. It's a really good article.
Yeah.
The fast rise, long decline, and agonizing downfall of the MTV empire. Andy, like for us in the 80s when we first got our cable boxes,
Yeah.
even through the 90s,
When
MTV.
I got my cable box.
Thanks, Mama Jabor, always watching his pennies. But we were late to the cable game too. But when we did, it was MTV, ESPN,
Yeah.
some of these really core staples. And MTV obviously was music television. I don't know if you've checked out MTV lately, Andy, but it is hardly any music on there anymore. I
Yeah.
mean, what we see, what we used to see with videos all day, and there are iconic videos, Billy Idol, you know, the radio killed the
Video.
video killed the radio star, all of these, Madonna videos. With the latest release of a music video was hot to try. Now, people are still releasing music videos. They're just not being played on MTV anymore.
Yeah.
And I think similarly, we had country music television. That was something I watched a lot. Nothing like they're watching the Golden Girls on that show. And so thoughts on the MTV, Andy? What did it mean in your life at this point?
Yeah, I mean, David, it was just so big. I mean, like I said, we did get cable a little bit later. But like when we got it, like I remember, like I was so excited to come home from school and watch MTV and to put it on and
Mhm.
just see the newest music, listen to it, see it. And there were so many moments that were just like, wow, wow. I remember um, when Scorpions and Wind of Change came out, like as the Soviet Union fell, and this song was just so inspirational. The winds of change, the world was changing. The communism that we'd seen, the divided nation of Germany, that was all going away as part of the past. We're moving to a better future. And that song just resonated with me so much when it came out. I remember, songs like Jesus Jones, Right Here, Right Now, around the same time. They were just like,
My wife's favorite song.
I didn't know that. I commend her. It's a great song. It's a great song. And like it was just so powerful in the moment that it was in, and like those just stay with you. Like, I remember the first time I saw Nirvana and Smells Like Teen Spirit. I was at my friend's house for a sleepover. One of my buddies was like, this is the song I was telling you about. And we just sat there watching it. And like we were no kidding, like just jaws like open, like this is fucking awesome. Like it was just so powerful. Like those shared moments and experiences of music and the videos and the culture, staying up for like Headbangers Ball and like
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
Ricky Ratman and all the VJs. And these were like major characters, right? From Pauly Shore to all the other goofs that came in and out over the years. Like they were just such a big part of our culture. And MTV was such a big part of that. And it was the shows and it was the music and it was awesome. And it's just not there for this generation. It's
Yeah.
very different. And videos are on YouTube, videos are on Vimeo. People see them a different way. and they're still great, but like you don't just sit down and watch like you used to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the VJs, like Karen Duffy, like I had a crush on her. You know, you had Kurt Loder and MTV
Oh my,
News. That
revolutionary, revolutionary.
I mean, Kurt Loder like is like boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
MTV News, you know, and it's just great. Like some of those like sounds are just seared into my brain. And you had like in the 90s, you had Total Request Live with Carson Daly, who now is on the things with like the Today Show and all those other things. But he started as an MTV. The host of Total Request Live, and that was where you saw like Britney Spears come up, the Backstreet Boys, and all these other groups. They would come on the show, and it'd be like it was just crazy. You had MTV Unplugged. I still remember some of the great groups there. You talked about Nirvana. They were one of the first ones. They may have been the first one, but so many great things, all centered on music. And now it's just one of the cable channels that's part of your cable bundle that you might be able to see reruns of something. They started drifting away, I think, when they had the reality shows like Road Rules and what
The real world really kicked
the
off.
real world. Those were highly successful. There were a lot of really good stuff in there, but then they started getting into like Teen Mom and all this other kind of just garbage, white trashy type of shows, and more away from the music. And now again, it's almost nothing. You can't. I think they still have some segments of music, but for the most part, it's nothing. And I said the same thing about CMT. I joked about the Golden Girls, but really, if you want to watch the Golden Girls, go there or watch George Strait's Pure Country movie, which I think is highly underrated and a great soundtrack item. If you're ever a George Strait fan, Pure Country is one of the best. Where the sidewalk ends, the road begins. Okay. Anyways,
I was
so
like your musical segments, Dave.
yeah, when I go off on those things, it's pretty good. So yeah, it's interesting, and again with the merger of Paramount with the new ownership there, what's going to happen with Warner Brothers Discovery and all these other things is, yeah, there's this massive consolidation in these markets, and some of those iconic brands you wonder like how did they go away? Well, this is how, you slowly start losing your model. And I know it's like adapt or change to the environment sometimes. And I know ratings drives a lot of that, but sometimes if you stick to your core business, like Krispy Kreme donuts, for example, they stick to their core business. You can still be successful. I don't know. It's kind of sad to see, Andy.
It is. It's really different. One thing you said I think was really a big one, like MTV News. As I look back on that one, Dave, like it was so ahead of where everybody else was, and so much more where we are today. Like it was rapid fire, it was loud, like, it was fast, it was exciting. Like you were brought into it. It was so unlike anything else telling us the news, right? Here's this young guy, telling us what's going on, and it was like it was so different. But realize I look back on that, 30 years ago, like it was really a pointer to where we are today in our fast moving, short attention span environment. It was great, and just so
Yeah.
much of that we grew up with. And it's unfortunate, like I think every generation looks back at some of the things they really enjoyed about their growing up times and thinks, oh, that was great. I wish young people today got to experience that. It's true, but I really feel like MTV was just such a cultural component of who we were as Gen X. It's just such a big part of it. Like you mentioned, some of the stars, Britney Spears coming out and dropping a video that everybody had to see, and like these were this big things that, again, these galvanizing things, shows, channels, moments that bring communities together and give us those shared experiences in common language and discussion. Like that helps build cohesion in society. And we're missing a lot of that today. Everybody goes in 10,000 different directions, right? Manipulated media and isolated channels and chat groups. And we don't have that shared experience and those ways of coming together and having fun or getting information or otherwise being together that brings us together as a community, as a society, as a generation. And that's something that's showing in the challenges we have in the Republic today.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a really good point. I mean, I think it's those shared experiences, like in this effort to diversify, we've also like lost some of those water cooler moments. Like how often like would we get together on a Friday and talk about the latest Seinfeld episode because it was just so crazy. Well, now there's 15 different Seinfelds, and then there's 10 different, ER shows or something like that. And it just diluted all of it. And we've gone away from those. What are those? Like, what is the movie you want to go see that everyone is seeing? Well, we haven't really had that. Maybe we had Barbie, but then that became politicized. Maybe we had Oppenheimer, but then people are like going against that or whatever. But we don't have those
Yeah.
iconic things anymore, and I do think that does tear away at some of the fabric of our community. Like to not be able to come together because you have to take a divisive stand one way or the other. It's frustrating.
It is frustrating. It is frustrating. Yeah, it's so.
But
Thanks,
but
MTV. Thanks for where you
yeah,
were. Sorry for where you are.
yeah, MTV was like that was I mean that was a cutting edge thing, and now it's largely irrelevant. But anyways, so all right, Andy, we'll wrap up on a Wednesday with our football segment, our Wednesday top five, bottom one. But before we do, Andy, where's your state of mind with the Lions now? Where are we at here?
I still have a lot of confidence in the Lions, Dave. I'll tell you, I've been holding Philly high in the rankings. I really believe in the Eagles, and I think they're showing that with a couple tweaks here at the end of the trade deadline, like they're just fierce. That defense just caused Detroit so much frustration Sunday night and disrupted everything the Lions were trying to do, as they did the week before the Packers. And so I look at Detroit and I don't have a loss of confidence in who the Lions were. They just got outplayed by a team that's playing excellent defense right now and excellent football. I still think the Lions are a very good team. I'll tell you, they fell out of my top five, so I think they had to, just based on where other teams are performing. But they're going to smash the Giants this weekend. And the real test, I think, to see like where are the Detroit Lions hosting their nemesis, the Green Bay Packers, at home on Thanksgiving. Like if there's a must-win game, that's a must-win game for the Lions. They've got to say, we're going to win two in a row. We're going to punch our rival in the face. We're still a top contender in the NFL. And we're going to figure out how to beat these Philadelphia Eagles because right now the Eagles are playing great, as are some other teams.
Yeah, I do think the Eagles are playing really well on the defensive side. I still think they got to work out some things on the offensive
Yeah.
side, but when you like limit teams to 10 points, like it's tough. I'm not sure. Like I do think the Rams are going to play them really tough. I think they match up pretty well from the offensive side, but with that pass rush and with the defensive backfield, it's going to be hard for Matt Stafford, I think, to pull it out. But we'll see. I still want to see a little bit more from the Eagles' offense. Maybe that'll come. The last couple years they've kind of turned it on the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
So we are in that final kind of like here we go. It's a playoff push now with Thanksgiving next week. It becomes every game is critical for some of these 5-5 teams, 6-4 teams that really need to, get a couple, get some distance in them or whatnot. So, but other than that, I'm not really scared of anybody in the NFC, to be honest. I like the Lions, but can they go toe to toe? I think in any game, I think they can. I just don't know if they will. So we'll see. We'll
We'll see.
see.
We'll see.
For my Cowboys, Andy, nobody's asking, but I'll tell you, like I barely watched the game on Monday, like against the Raiders. I saw the first couple drives. It's like Dak looks like shit. They suspended, I guess, temporarily CD Lamb and Pickens for some stupid shit, I guess. But classic Cowboys, classic Cowboys.
I'll tell
Um,
you, during that game, Dave, one of my sons sent me an image of the Manning brothers show, and they had George W. Bush on, and he was like, "Hey, my favorite NFL commentator is talking," and I saw it, I was like I hate that son of a bitch, you know. And I told him like straight up, like I don't give a shit what comes out of that guy's mouth. I hate seeing him on pop culture moments in any way. I hate the oh, he's a nice older president now. And I know that in relation to our current president, he looks like a really swell guy. But man, I harbor so much frustration towards that individual. It is amazing. Like just seeing his face with the Manning brothers, and I was like, fuck the Manning brothers.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those presidents like there's a lot of people who hate that guy. I mean, from Katrina to Iraq, it gets really, really frustrating. All right, Andy, let's do top five, bottom
Good.
one. Last week you had Philly, Seattle, the Rams, Indy, and Detroit as your top five. How are you looking this week?
Yeah, so not massive changes. The Rams did outduel the Seahawks, and the Denver Broncos have been reluctant to accept, as we mentioned on
Yeah.
Monday. Look, they're winning football games. They're getting it done. They manhandled the Chiefs. They look really good. My Lions had to fall out, so a little bit of disruption. I've got the Broncos in, sitting at number five right now. Could argue for them to be higher, but got them at number five. The Colts bumped them, or actually they stayed exactly where they were. They're at number four. Got the Seahawks dropping to three, and the Rams moving up to two with their victory. I think they look really good playing football and in those black uniforms, which are really cool. And then I've got the Philadelphia Eagles, Dave. I've been saying they're good. What they are doing right now, defense, you're right. Their offense is just, it's not the offense isn't good. The play calling isn't good. Like you're just not running good plays. The offensive talent is
Yeah.
definitely there, right? So the offense is still dangerous. It's just not performing. But man, their defense right now, I don't know what offense can withstand the onslaught of that Philadelphia Eagles defense right now. And if they can swarm and attack other teams the way they did Detroit and Green Bay these last 2 weeks, they're going to be really hard to put points up against. And the offense is going to get it done. So I've got the Eagles in a strong one. I would love right now. Eagles Rams sounds like a really exciting game that I hope we get to see. Somehow I hope the Lions find a way to get themselves back together and of course take the conference.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fascinating one. For fascinating for sure. So we'll see how that plays out here. So I'm gonna go with mine. I've seen enough now. I do think Philly is the top team. So I moved them up from 3-1. I do think the Rams, number two, they moved ahead of Seattle. They beat them. The Seattle still had a chance to
Yeah,
win, so I'm still
yeah,
keeping them at no, like Seattle, despite four
yeah.
turnovers. They still could have pulled. They missed a field goal. They could have won. So
Yeah.
Seattle is in number three. Indy at number four. This feel like they were the good news story, and they have a lot of good news to be celebrating. But I feel like maybe we'll see what's going to happen over these next couple weeks, and could the shine come off a little bit? It's starting to look a little shaky,
Yeah.
but they did get a good buy, and so let's see where they go. And then number five, I'm going to do a tie. I'm going to go along with your Denver pick, and I'm going to keep New England there. I think these
Mhm.
two teams, like if they played each other, the Denver defense is so dominating. I think that Denver would probably win this game, but I also think like New England has developed a pretty decent game plan. But Denver's defense next to Philly, I think, is tops. I mean, they really handled KC, and I know the score was a little
Yeah.
tight there, and KC could have very easily won. But there's just something about Denver. I mean, the defense is very aggressive. They have great corners, great rush. So what would happen with that New England game? So I'm going to have them tied together for now, and that's a cheap way of taking that out. So
No,
um,
it's like the Patriots for me are where the Broncos were. Like I do see that they're playing good football and winning games. I'm not a believer yet, but I think you could argue Patriots, Broncos, Colts, who's actually legitimate in the best of those teams, and I'm not sure. Like all of them are a little bit sus to me, but all of them are playing good football, winning football games. So it's hard to tell, but those top several you mentioned, NFC teams, like the NFC is really showing some talent. And you're right. I mean, despite Sam Darnold, the Seahawks are playing really good football and could have won that game. So I think we have very similar top fives there. And I think there's some really good teams right now that are showing who they are. And Dave, again, just the one to watch, Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens. Their
yep,
record sucks, but they're
they're
winning
out there
games
though.
now. They're getting hot. They're I think either at or right above 500 now. They're going to be a threat come playoff time. They're going to be hot. They're going to be playing well. They're going to be able to challenge teams and make a run. They're dangerous.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I don't think they played particularly well last week, but they always, Cleveland and Baltimore always have weird games together.
Yeah.
Even back several years when Cleveland's been awful. It's just been they're awful again this year. But yeah, you got to watch out for the Ravens. They've got a couple more. They can be 7-5. They got two games with the Steelers, and they're
Yeah.
only a game behind. So So that's still out there with him. So, all right, Andy, we'll wrap up for Wednesday here. Good recap of things, and we didn't talk too much about politics. It's always a good day, Andy.
That is a good day. I agree with that. Always a good day. We don't have to sit here and just talk about politics. So, love you, MTV.
Yep, we do. Farewell, MTV, as we knew you.
Yeah,
It was a good run, Andy. It was a good
that's a good
run.
run. That's a good run.
All right, with that, I will catch up with you on Friday.